I remember saying to somebody that, oh, I can't watch a foreign film dubbed. I rely so much on the acting of the source voice. And the minute I said that, I remember thinking, wow, I wonder if you could make a foreign film of a foreign language that nobody knows, and it would cut through to everybody.
That's Andrew Stanton, creator of the Toy Story franchise and Finding Nemo. And here, he's explaining the greatest challenge he's ever faced on an animated film, a film in which 22 minutes go by before a single line of dialogue is spoken.
Directive? Directive?
And while Pixar had become famous for pushing the boundaries of what animation could achieve, they now more than ever had to rely solely on visual storytelling. But don't assume that makes it a silent film.
It wasn't, can I make a silent movie? Because there's nothing silent about WALL-E. It's very dependent on audio.
So he brought in Ben Burtt, an acclaimed sound designer whose time on the Star Wars films gave him plenty of experience working with science fiction.
Every sound designer is asked to create some sort of a world in sound. From the background sounds, the ambiances, the wind, the storms, the hum inside a spaceship, as well as the mechanical sounds of motors and robot arms and legs and treads.
But where Star Wars provided Ben with an array of physical sets and locations to reference, he wasn't prepared for the huge undertaking that is animation.
Big thing that's unique about sound design and animation is the fact that you get nothing for free. You don't get on a set and hear the way the environment sounds naturally, or the way somebody walks across a room, or just their voice.
WALL-E.
But in this case, because there isn't dialogue that often, it puts all this emphasis on every little squeak, beep, squawk. Now they all have to mean something.
That meant Burt had to make the right choice for the right sound at the right moment in the film. It also meant he couldn't gather all the required sounds from physical locations. And so, he turned to the techniques used by legendary Disney sound designer Jimmy McDonald.
Recording equipment in the earliest days was very bulky. You couldn't take it outside and go on location to record a train. And so the artists at Disney would simulate the sound right there in the studio. These gadgets could be played as if they were musical instruments, and the timing of the sounds could be tailored to exactly match the picture.
With access to the Disney Imagineering archives, Ben was able to use these devices to create different environmental effects, like wind.
But actually I discovered by accident another way to get wind. And that particular sound was used in the big toxic waste storm. Another classic device is the thunder sheet. It's a piece of sheet metal, and you can get a wonderful low-frequency rumble out of it.
Covers most of the Earth's surface.
Burt utilized these techniques to create thousands of effects for the film, and that would be enough for your standard animated picture. But in a film like WALL-E, where the main characters don't communicate with dialogue, the sound has to do so much more.
WALL-E.
We've always tried to give Eve kind of very soothing, high-tech, quiet tonalities, almost like little bits of music. And there's a mystery, there's a sense of energy and enchantment with her. But it's kind of a soft kind of background kind of idea with sound. And it's emotional.
Despite this, Stanton knew that sound effects alone wouldn't create a character. Even without dialogue, actions, movements, and expressions can inform the audience entirely on their own merit. And when you need a reference for silent acting, there's only one place to turn.
Keaton was really the target. It was really the bullseye that we found, like, that's the match. And so we got so much out of so many of his films.
In particular, the hat-changing scene from Steamboat Bill Jr., where Keaton never changes, only the hats do. And yet, you get an endless variety of entertainment just from the simple projection that a different hat makes.
That was, I think, the scene that made me completely commit and trust that we could get away with a faceless character that just had eyes. And they don't really change. But the power of what can be done around that was proven to me by the hat scene.
Keaton is a visual storyteller. He believed everything you needed to know could be conveyed through body language. And he always told his story through actions and pantomimes.
But what you had to say, you had to communicate to the audience in only one way, through action, through pantomime.
That's right. We eliminated subtitles just as fast as we could if we could possibly tell it in action.
Those actions can be seen in Wally's reaction to a kiss, or his confusion in a crowd. But perhaps most influential was a scene from one of Keaton's most renowned films, Sherlock Jr.
There's a scene where you realize all the intentions and all the successes or losses are told sort of through whether he's holding hands or not. And at the time we were realizing that that was the only way we were going to be able to convey success and a goal of love with Wally was the hand holding.
So they had the sound effects and acting down, but how do you shoot it? Like with everything, it needed to be more calculated than ever. And with Stanton wanting a photogenic look to the film, the team realized they needed to better understand the elements of a physical camera.
There's the way the camera moves, there's the way a camera moves in physical space that aren't always the same as the way they move in computer space. There's also the way the lenses behave in live-action filmmaking, how things like depth of field really looks on film, and how when you pull focus, what's really happening with the lens.
So they once again asked for help, this time sitting in on a demonstration from renowned cinematographer Roger Deakins.
I think watching most films that they kind of feel to me overlit. So I thought in the demonstration I'd start off by lighting it like somebody might have lit a shot years ago. So then I broke it down and got back to, what I try and do, which is keep lighting the kind of units and the kind of sources to sort of a minimum.
Stanton realized that the soft spotlights he used on previous films wouldn't work. And in order to attain the gritty, realistic style he wanted, he had to take inspiration from Deakins and use practical light whenever possible.
And I just think it's wonderful, the subtlety of the little focus shifts and using the idea of sources, lighting the set by choosing the sources that you put in it to give you the effect you'd want.
And to make the most of it, the team shot the film on anamorphic lenses, something no animated film had ever done before. And through these lenses and the practical lighting, the film was able to create a sense of privacy. It allowed them to emphasize what is perhaps the message and the very heart of the film, that love can help us escape loneliness.
The more I got into the movie and this issue of a lonely character on the vast canvas of a whole planet that's unoccupied, then the vastness of space, then the vastness of this huge spaceship, how can I make things feel intimate and private and sensitive and emotional when that's your backdrop? And I thought, it's going to be the focus. It's going to be narrowing it in. So even when I'm in all this stuff, I can feel like it's just about this. It's just about in here.
With Wally, Andrew Stanton created something special, something unique, and crafted one of the greatest love stories put to film. There's so much more I could say about it, but I think film critic Roger Ebert put it best when he said, "This story, told in a different style and with a realistic look, could have been a great science fiction film. And for that matter, maybe it is." I'm Luke Custer, and as always, thank you so much for watching.